Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We spoke earlier today to Paul West-Sells, the CEO of Western Copper and Gold. They have a project up in the Yukon. It's a huge project, copper and gold in vast quantities, and therein lies the problem. We talked to Paul today about some of the challenges that lay ahead. If you want to hear our views and our opinions on the conversation and the company itself, you can get that at cruxinvestor.com/club. You can also find company reports in there. You've got training videos, you've got commentary from market experts from all around the world. We've got interview summaries to save you a bit of time. And in there, you'll also find a vast number of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other. And if you want to go and have a look, there's a 7-day free trial. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, leave your comments. And if you want to look at some of the topics we discussed today, take a look at the description below. Paul, how are you doing, sir?
Very, very good.
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining us. I know it's not too early in the morning there in Vancouver, is it?
No. 9 o'clock. This is a very, very decent time.
Well,
so yeah.
Very civilized.
Yeah, the kids are at school, and then their art is up here on the wall behind me. So
nice. Nice. I tell you, if the mining doesn't work out, you can go into the art business. I'm liking the look of that.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll tell my 8-year-old daughter that.
I've seen it happen. Hey, well, thanks very much for taking our call. I wanted to reach out. We spoke a couple of months ago, okay? And I think I got a lot out of it. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. But I kind of left with a few gaps, okay? And that's why I've called you. I want to try and understand it just a little bit more, because you do have this huge gold, copper, gold, depending on the time of the week or flavor of the month, project up in the Yukon. And I'd like your help to kind of fill those gaps, if we may, because you're quite candid with me last time, which I enjoyed. But first, for people new to the story, give them that 1-minute overview of the business.
Yeah, sure. Western Copper and Gold is developing the Casino Copper Gold project located up in the Yukon. This is a large copper gold porphyry, 21 million ounces of gold, 11 billion pounds of copper. So, it certainly is a top tier project. We finished a feasibility study in 2013. Capital cost, it's a big project, $2.5 billion. But IRR at that time of 20% and net present value of $2 billion. Looking at this thing at spot, you've got IRRs, north of 30 and NPVs closer to $4 billion with today's commodity price. So great project. Obviously, everyone, the Yukon's great. It's Canada. It's mining friendly jurisdiction, and we're just continuing to move it forward.
Okay.
And doing some drilling this year too.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Yep. So it's a huge project. You laid out all the numbers, that measure, indicator, and inferred numbers. I think you just gave. So gold, obviously very topical at the moment. Price, well, a bit of a setback recently, but sort of seems to be heading the right way. So as a gold project, people, companies, investors could get excited about that. As a copper project, it's not the biggest copper project in the world, but it is significant in terms of pounds in the ground. So people can get excited about it, especially for our viewers. We've been saying, copper's one of the commodities for 2021, I think.
Yeah, and you look at the copper, and initially this is, the magic number. Obviously I talked to a lot of copper companies and major copper companies, and the magic number for them is 100,000 tons of copper per year. We hit that. So that's just the copper. We create as much revenue from gold as we create from copper. Revenue from gold is, equivalent to 100,000 tons of copper per year. So it sits in that nice size of a good size copper project.
I get it. Yep. Don't get too defensive. I like the project. I just want to understand how you're going to go about it.
Calling it a small copper project,
well, compared to some of the big numbers, which I'm sure you're going to throw at me, later on in this conversation, right? Because for a gold investor, the sorts of numbers that you're going to need to invest in this copper project, which, as I say, is not one of the biggest. It's good, but it's significant billions of dollars, right? So that's why I'm talking about it like this. But let's deal with things I want to deal with, which is how are you going to tackle this? Okay, there's a lot of unknowns at the moment with regards to the gold component. Okay, so I know you've got a lot of answers in the ground, but talk to me about some of the conversations which are going on at board level, which are going to allow you to actually finally monetize that, because you've got all the data, you've got all the answers, surely you've got everything you need.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think that, I mean, last time we talked, we talked a little bit about our gold zone in the south. So that's certainly an opportunity. And unfortunately, because of COVID and really just the whole industry is doing a lot of exploration, we don't have a lot of assays yet from the southern part of the deposit. So that's an opportunity. But I think that more what we're looking at is the whole project. I mean, if you look at this project, $2.5 billion capital cost, this is a very modest priced copper project. I mean, you look at Cobre Panama, which is the last large copper project come on, $6 billion. You look at Quellaveco, Anglo just announced that they're, well, not just, but within the last year announced they're kicking that off, $5 billion. I mean, $2.5 billion, we're a little copper mine. Like you said, it's not that.
Oh, no, right, okay. Now you're back down. Good. No, I do understand that, and that's why I want to understand. Sorry to stay with the gold, but I want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're talking about opportunities in the south. It's like people are saying, stop with the drilling. Let's get on to commercializing this. And we talked last time about how much money is going to be needed here. We talked about $2 billion investment, $1 billion investment, or if we really went cheap and brought heap leach in, $500 million. That's a lot of money for most companies. So help me understand the decision making that you guys on the board are going through. What are the conversations about? Because I want to know if you're capable of delivering an event soon, or you're waiting for some sort of copper super cycle to kick in to help you make your decisions. What are you in control of?
I mean, what we're in control of is, at the end of the day, our job is to create value for shareholders. And so how we create value for shareholders is the best value with this project, with what we have control of, in terms of creating value for shareholders, is to have this thing as a shovel-ready project. So what does that entail? Right now, that entails updating the feasibility study, the drilling's finished, so updating the feasibility study and getting the project fully permitted. And that's really what we're looking to do, is to drive that forward exactly through that value proposition. And, this is sort of junior mining 101. That's where you create value, is by bringing these things into a shovel ready. And this is an old project, but it was one that I followed a while ago. You look at Terrain Metals, they had Mount Milligan, a big, it ended up being $1.5 billion capital cost. They brought that project forward. They did the feasibility study. They got it permitted. And, they ended up selling that for around $500 million. Actually, our predecessor company, Western Silver, had the Peñasquito deposit in Mexico. So this was, again, it's a big, low grade, in this case, silver, gold, lead, zinc project. What did they do? Feasibility study, brought it through permitting in Mexico and sold that to Glamis for $1.6 billion. That's value creation. And, that's the model that we're looking at. And what's interesting, I think, about our board, and certainly our new board, and we've got some, really good, mining investors on that, is that they're not scared of a $2.5 billion capital cost. They sort of say, look, once we get this thing permitted, we can go up, we can finance that, we can bring this into being an operation.
Okay, but you understand the frustration in the marketplace. It's been a long time in the making. You talked about, being at this thing for 12 years, just you guys, let alone what went on before, right? And mining 101 is not always about shovel-ready projects, and exiting at that point. You can exit at multiple points along the way, but you're saying your board is used to being able to deliver shovel-ready projects, which with large tickets values associated with them. Is that what I'm buying into here as an investor walking into this thing for the first time? We just have to wait.
Sure. If you want to get that to that full valuation, you have to wait. But this year is a perfect example. Our share price tripled. Why did it triple? It triples on the back of copper and gold prices going up. So, and our stewardship of the project moving it forward. So, there's certainly ways to generate shareholder return in our name. One of the ways is to come in and out and ride the cycle. The other way is to buy and hold and wait for us to hit some of those key milestones.
But okay, I want to be clear here. You've tripled from the COVID lows,
No, not from the COVID lows, from the pre-COVID lows.
Go on.
From the COVID lows, we probably are six times or something like that.
What are you going with? Okay, I'll check. Okay, you sort of back up to the dizzy heights of where you were in 2017, it looks like. But look, but in seriousness, I do want to understand why some of the other options are discounted. Why shovel ready is your choice, your preferred choice. You know, if I look at the heap leach component, you have talked about it previously. You know, It's a lower $500 million ticket. It's a relative, you know, and as a $180 million company, that's still a big deal, right? So to explain to people why that's been discounted as a route.
No, and I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying that, you sort of have to steer your ship in a direction, right? And that's the direction that the ship is going in, is to take the full project that's described by the feasibility study. You know, and the feasibility study needs to be updated, but bringing that through permitting. You know, along the way, I mean, why are we doing a drilling campaign this year? We're doing a drilling campaign really for one reason, and that is to, further delineate that high-grade gold, those high-grade gold intercepts we got last year, to fully delineate that zone to see if there is a high-grade gold project in there that's a standalone project. If that happens, then absolutely we'll look at that. That'll form probably part of the updated feasibility study. Unfortunately, I don't have enough assays to make a decision on that one way or another way.
Why not?
But,
where are the assays?
I've got 20% of the assays in, unfortunately.
Why?
So, it's interesting. With the 20% we got about a month ago, it started off with COVID. All the labs, I think they got everyone, 2 meters apart from each other, and then gold shot up, and a bunch of junior mining companies all raised a bunch of money, and they started drilling like crazy. So the labs are incredibly backed up, and we're looking at least 2 months from submitting samples to getting assays back.
Okay.
Yeah. But just to finish your point, certainly once all those assays are in, we'll look at that as an option. But that's the same project. It's just staged then, right? I mean, we still have this massive copper gold porphyry that's going to be, like I said, a couple $2 billion to bring that forward. And that is still a cheap copper project.
I mean, so tell me that, because your project is across the board kind of really relatively low grade. It's a good ore body, but it's relatively low grade. You're chasing high grade now because it may give you optionality in terms of a phased approach. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And I mean, a good parallel, in terms of development, I think we're a better resource is La Arena. And, you look at La Arena, they, again, it's a weathered porphyry. They took the gold cap off. They set that up as a gold heap leach. And then, second phase there is to go after the copper gold. Now, for us, our copper gold is I think, a better grade, and it's a better project than at La Arena. But, that's an opportunity. And we'll certainly look at that. I mean, I think that looking at a phased capital is always something that you look at. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be expending, $2.5 billion to bring all of that to basically, extract all of this resource. And again, I mean, this is in the world of copper projects. This is not a large copper project.
I get it. I'm going to let you make that point in spades in a second, but I just want to finish on this phased approach thing, okay? Because it's important, because it's a kind of like a new way that people think about doing these things. It will give you cash flows to be able to, contribute towards any, future costs for sure. But just on this, is the project, what do you know anything about the grades? I mean, you've got some assays back, obviously. So what are some of those grades? How much more money have you got to spend? How much more time before you can start making decisions? And I assume you're going to refer me back to the assay problem, but give me some insight into it.
I really just don't have enough and enough analytical data to really make any direction on that, unfortunately. I think we scheduled this interview thinking, we'll have all of our assays and be able to talk about all this stuff. And it's like, real frustrating. But give us a couple months and we'll have it all together.
Fantastic. I'll be sure to call. Okay, for sure. I want to see what that looks like. So let's come back to the point you're trying to make. which is to convince people like me and people watching this show that this 2 billion number is not something to be frightened of. It should be embraced because it's a smallish copper project, right? Which is, it doesn't scare the big boys and it doesn't scare the people who finance the big boys. So we should, you're trying to advance things for us. I get it. From the last conversation, people should watch the last conversation around business plan and strategy for delivering it. But we should not be concerned because you're not concerned and you've got a team on board who are taking the approach of it's a good sized project and we're going to deliver a shovel ready project. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, one of the things I think is illustrative, and this is one of the things that I walk through certainly with some investors, is to look. I mean, the other thing we're looking to do, of course, with a project of this size is to bring in a big partner. So, you know, let's walk through the numbers on that. So you've got a $2.5 billion capital cost, but let's say you bring in a partner for sort of 50-50. So now I've got a $1.25 billion capital cost. Okay, but now I'm going to put on 60% debt or something like that. Now, in terms of the equity component that I need to raise, I'm now talking 500 million, 400 million. That's the equity component that I need to raise for this project. And, you know, by the time I've got a 50% partner, I've got the thing shovel ready. What's my market cap? It's not going to be 200 million. It's going to be far north of that. And so that's a very, very reasonable. And I mean, there's a number of examples out there where people have raised that sort of equity. So it's not a big equity chunk. And the thing that's interesting about a $2.5 billion project is that you can go through that math with a 50% partner and come up with a reasonable amount of equity that needs to be raised and, you know, that potential dilution to the shareholder. If you start with a $5 billion project, you know, you get into like these, you know, pretty questionable sort of numbers that need to be raised. So very, very doable about us. I mean, so yeah, and I mean, we haven't talked about that, but I mean, of course, we're always looking to partner on this project. You know, I've been pretty open with our investors and you know, various interviews on that. You know, lots of conversations on that front, and you know, with 21 million ounces of gold, you know, maybe it's a gold partner.
How are your next door neighbors?
They've been quiet this year, actually. Yeah. No, Newmont was quiet this year, but last year they had 6 drills going up there. So
I was just checking. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd ask. So you're saying you've got big boy problems, not small company problems. Mm-hmm. So now I appreciate you've run through the maths, but you know, therein also lies the problem. The moment you announce you've got a 50% partner, your problems are solved. They go away, it seems, from what you were saying. So when do you deliver that 50% partner? What have you got to do? What do you feel you've got to do to get that 50% partner?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, let me be very, very clear. I mean, I'm illustrating this 50-50 partnership just to illustrate what a potential funding avenue would look like on this. Okay. I mean, I think that we're certainly are pursuing a business transaction with someone that makes sense. I mean, is it 50-50? Is it a toehold? Is it a buyout? You know, I mean, you know, the way this works is, you know, you have these conversations and then, you know, you sort of see what makes sense and different partners, different things make sense. We're in an earlier stage right now. You know, we'll see how things move forward. But I mean, you know, we continue to pursue that. And, you know, obviously that would be sort of transformative in terms of the share price and in terms of the way that the project moves forward. But I mean, again, you know, we'll continue to move this forward on our own. And, you know, if that's something that happens after it's shovel ready, when we're trying to put this thing together in terms of what is the capital, you know, who's going to come up with all the capital? That's one point where it happens. It happens at this point. It happens all the way along, right?
Fantastic. So you painted a picture of, you know, with a big company mentality. You've got a board of guys you say have been there, done it before. So what are they doing about it? I mean, what are they tasked with doing? How many conversations are happening?
No, I mean, there's lots of conversations happening. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a good year. I mean, we certainly have had a lot of interest. I mean, it's been challenging, obviously, with COVID, but we've managed through that. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, the other way to look at this asset is to take a step back and look at, okay, I'm a big copper company. I want to add to my portfolio. What is available on the market in terms of large copper or large copper gold projects? And and particularly in the copper space and in the large gold space, that is a very, very small set of projects. And, you start to screen them by, okay, do the economics add up? Does it have an IRR at least 15% at reasonable commodity prices? Check mark with Casino. Is it in a jurisdiction anybody wants to be in? You're in the Yukon. I mean, that's obviously a place that people want to be. And, do they have a clear path to getting that absolutely shovel ready? I.e., do they have the community and permitting, figured out? And I'd argue that we do. And so, I think that puts us in a very, very small set of projects. Certainly the interest that we've seen, over the past couple of years has been very, very, well, even more longer than that, has been very, very high. We'll continue to move it forward. We'll continue to have those conversations. When the right business transaction happens, it'll happen.
Okay, so let's move from the what if world into the real world today, which is you raised some money in May. What have you got? What are you sitting with in cash today?
Q2 we had 6 million. So I mean, we're probably sitting 4-ish, right, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So at what point does that get uncomfortable? At what point do you go out to market and say, hey, we just need a little bit more money to move things forward ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of when we have to, I mean, we've got a full year of runway. In terms of what makes sense, probably sometime in the next 6 months. And really it comes back. I mean, I'll let you know my decision-making process. We get the drill results. Okay. That's going to dictate what an update of the feasibility study looks like. Cost that out. We have the updated feasibility study, then we have the permitting, take a look at what that cost looks like. And that's the money that we go out and try to raise.
Okay. So at some point in the next 6 months, you're talking to me about raising money.
Talking to you.
Why not? Exclusive.
Sure.
Not exclusive. Well, me as an investor, really, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm joking, yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just trying to understand, again, all about the mindset. Because you guys, the decisions that you guys choose to make affects my ability to make money. So I'm just trying to get there. You're filling quite a few gaps for me today, and you've given me a few what-if scenarios, which, I buy. They're not crazy. So what do you think is happening in the world of, we've got a view on copper next year. What do you think is happening with gold? It's obviously reset recently. Is that permanent?
I'm sure you've heard this before. If anybody is upset with $1,800 gold, they really need to check their head. This is.
I'll send you a list of people. I'll send you a list of people.
Yeah, but I'll flip it over to the copper world. Look to the future, and COVID will end. I think everyone agrees on that. No one agrees exactly on the timing. When that happens, gold will pull back. I think it'll pull back to 1,800 or 1,700 or something like that. I think you've baked in. The world has now baked in a little bit more volatility, and that will be reflected in a higher gold price. But copper, we've seen this playbook. We saw this playbook in 2009 and 2010. The next step is stimulus. And when you have the stimulus, what happens? The price of copper shoots up. And the thing that's really exciting right now is that you're coming off of basically a decade of underdevelopment of copper mines. Why? Because the copper price was horrible. No one builds copper mines when copper price is $2, right? So, demand goes up, supply takes 3-4 years to match that demand. We're headed for a real crunch. And that's why you've seen the copper price go up. That's why you see inventories at decade lows, actually more than decade lows. And last I saw was a 13-year low. I mean, that's exactly what's happening right now. And that's just now. I mean, when you actually start to see the stimulus really, really kick in, I think we're headed to a really exciting copper price environment here.
No, we'd agree with that. And it's a question of getting positioned with the right companies, okay? And that's why I wanted to come back to you on some of these gaps. Because I think, a lot of people came back to us and sort of threw the accusation at you guys saying they don't have a plan. It's clear to me you do have a plan. You've got several plans, but you've got to pick one. And you're going to pick one when you've got the right data, is what I'm hearing from you.
I mean, the plan is the plan is the same plan. The plan is to work towards an updated feasibility study. The drill results that we get this year will dictate whether or not that's a phased development or whether or not that's a one-stage development. That's really the only options on that. But it's still the same. I mean, the feasibility study will look at the whole project. And then on the back of that, permitting, and then, move into financing and bringing it into production. Okay.
Well, I guess we'll be looking for those clues and cues from you. Message to the market. Don't fear the reaper. It'll be fine.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time. We will catch up from you soon, I hope. Do pick up the phone and let us know, okay?
All right. Well, hopefully when we get these assays in, we can sit down and I'll tell you exactly what that's going to look like.
World exclusive. I look forward to it. Thanks, Paul. Speak to you soon. Thanks.